All right. Happy Monday, guys. How you doing? Good to see everyone here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you don't know me, my name is John or Johnny. You can go by either or. And I would call myself a semi-professional trader who likes to focus on the ABC trading method. Today, we're going to be going over what the ABC trading method is, how you guys can go ahead and apply it into your own analysis, show you guys how I do things, how I trade, kind of give you guys also a market update, what I think is going on, stuff I'm looking for. And from there, throughout the period of the session, you guys can go ahead and ask me any questions you might have regarding, the TA you see here. If you want me to look at certain things, any questions about the ABCs themselves or anything in between, please, feel free to ask throughout the period of this stream here today. I'll be doing my best to keep an eye out on chat on the Discords and as well as the YouTube/Twitch end. So if you guys have any questions, um, in any of those rooms, I'll do my best to keep an eye on them and be on top of them. But without further ado, we should be good to go. Let's rock and roll here. So, first things first is if you guys don't know what ABCs are, I'll give you a quick introduction. ABCs, it's pretty much a I would guess call it more of a chart pattern that we go ahead and identify trends in groups of threes, right? Either to the upside or to the downside, right? The goal is to go ahead and trade either reversals or continuations. The way we do that is by going ahead and out highlighting the pivot of the A. Actually, no, that's backwards. Sorry. This one. Highlighting the pivot of the A. And then we can go ahead and identify a possible trade entry by waiting for price to extend past the C and reclaiming the level, right? So in a short case, when price is above the A, once price gets back below, you're going to go ahead and short, all right? And then vice versa for the long position. Once you have an ABC to the downside, you can go ahead and look for a possible reversal anywhere below the pivot of this A, and we can go ahead and look for a long trade when we're back above this previous pivot. We can go ahead and reverse the upside. All right. That's pretty much the easiest way to explain ABCs. There's a lot of stuff that we can go over that's in between. But that's how I primarily identify ABC setups. I take my entries as soon as price crosses back into the range of the A wave, or depending which direction, above or below, and we go ahead and look for possible reversals. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and look at BTC. All right, so for BTC, on the larger scale, all right, so we could be looking at something to the degree of, I would say, two main different ideas. Some of the
Johnny, you cut the voice.
Yeah, I can't hear you either.
Technical problem, everyone. Should be back in 1 minute tops. Johnny is aware, folks, so should be back in a second at most.
what's been going on with my setup lately. All right. Oh, great. All right. Let me go ahead and pop the screen up again. Sorry about that, guys. Chart. All right. You guys should be able to view that. Let me know if everything's good.
Yeah, everything is good.
Okay, cool. So sorry about that, guys. Let's pick up where we left off. So to go ahead and talk about ABCs, one of the things I like to do is go over the quote unquote larger perspective, to where I like to focus on kind of the more macro ideas and talk about the possibilities of what could be going on or what could be going on. And even from a macro perspective, I like to view things from an ABC point of view. So when I go ahead and zoom out, I like to primarily focus on what I call what's been going on in the bear market. All right, and you can see starting from the previous top, basically work our way down. This is where we're going to be focusing on here and possibly here in the future. So that's, this is its own ABC. Basically, what I like to do is once we establish a larger ABC, or even on a smaller time frame, a larger separation and trend that we can group together as a larger ABC, I like to go ahead and try to focus more on what is going to continue after that, just because once an ABC is completed and the reversal is completed, that counts to me as one completed trend. So from here on out, pretty much everything from the right of this line is going to be a new separate trend or a new group of trends that we can go ahead and focus on. So now that we have more zoomed out perspective of what's going on, we could see that we have an ABC within the A, ABC within the B, and ABC within the C. Now, we have completed ABC, and the question that will come up often when you guys do this is trying to understand the variations of what could be happening. This is something I like to keep in mind. This is something I do my best to try to understand as much as I can when I'm making not only just more macro analysis, but more on a relative time frame that we go ahead and trade ourselves. What I like to do is ask myself, what could be happening? What are the options? How can we go ahead and maneuver the market based off of what we come up with? So the first option is this off of this ABC that we're potentially done. We reached the bottom, and now we can go ahead and focus on more upside. If that is the case, we have a possible ABC here. All right, that could turn to one larger A. We're probably gonna get some sort of pullback for a B and a continuation for a C. Just an idea. I don't really know exactly how it's going to play out, but something along the lines of that is something I would most likely want to see if we are going to go ahead and reach for more upside. Let's see. Illusion. What's up, Johnny? How's it going? Thank you so much, my friend, for stopping by. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Sorry, we had technical difficulties a little earlier in the show, but I think we're all good now. But going back to what I was saying before was ABC as a possibility to extend into a larger potential bull market or bull run at the very least. Now, the other question is, what if this ABC is not done? Or what if this is part of a larger ABC? Something you'll see when we, or something you guys will see when we go ahead and go into the smaller time frames or the smaller perspectives, is that some things that you'll find, or sometimes you'll find that ABCs, all right, might be part of a larger setup. So this ABC might be part of one larger A, maybe another ABC to the downside for a possible B, and then an ABC for a continuation higher for C. All right, something along the lines of that. Now, if I take away the white structures, you can see all we're left is with one larger ABC. That's how I like to approach things sometimes. If price is giving us a little bit more of a more drawn out, a much larger possible ABC scenario, something I will keep in mind. So for this situation, all right, like I said before, one of the things that is on the table, and one of the possibilities that we could be looking at, is maybe we're not done yet. All right, maybe this ABC is the start of a larger A. We're working on some sort of, either we're topping out, getting close to topping out here, or we're going to make another leg up. I really don't necessarily know the extent of how the B wave is going to play out. The best way to determine if a wave is topping out or a larger structure is topping out is looking for some sort of ABC within the wave, kind of like what you see in the A wave here and possibly what's in the B wave here. All right, we're going to go ahead and talk about that later. But we can either be topping out here or maybe pulling back similar to the first idea, putting in one more extended high, and then possibly looking for a much larger potential reversal. Right. This would be the ultimate, I would consider, more bearish option, to where I think we definitely can get people more excited up in these regions to get to, people thinking that we're possibly more bullish or maybe we're in for a bull run. I like to put myself in a situation of, how do I go ahead and, if I were the market makers, if I was someone who had money to move the markets, how would I, that's how this is, how am I able to go ahead and manipulate the mainstream or the mainstream media or the mainstream traders or retail traders? And more importantly, how can I move liquidity in and out of my positions? Because obviously people who have a lot of money to play with, it takes liquidity to exit and enter their positions. So the best way to go ahead and do that is to basically pump price artificially, or at least start a larger move to the upside, have retail traders kind of buy into that hype, into that FOMO, and that will go ahead and help them fill in their sell orders and possibly start a much more accelerated downtrend. I can go on a whole separate live stream just about that in itself, but we're primarily focusing on how price does it in the way that the charts show us it wants to do it. So like I said before, either we're topping out here soon, or we're going in for one more high before putting in a much larger potential reversal. Now, how far are we going to go? I really don't know that answer. The only thing I can say, the only thing I think you guys should keep an eye on, is understand that all price really has to do is put in one more low beyond the previous low, and that could be considered a done, I would consider this a nice clean ABC to the downside. This could be a much larger potential reversal in the bear market to start a possible bull market. Some people are expecting, that those 10K regions, those sub 10K regions to be filled. It's possible, but me personally, all I really need to see is a pivot. I'm not, well, actually, it could be just a wick. It could be a quick wick, to get us down to just below that 15.5, 15,450. And we can go ahead and start, trending to the upside. But keeping that in mind, what I'm going to do is keep this low highlighted here. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to the quote unquote more tradable perspective that I use. So I usually use around a 1 hour, 30 minute to a 2 hour. 1 hour is pretty much the golden, I guess, where I start. The most important thing to understand is perspective, not time frame itself, right? Because you can go on a 1 hour time frame, do this, zoom all the way in, and say, "Oh, hey John, look, we have an ABC here." And yes, technically you're right. We do have an ABC here, but if I zoom out, focus on the larger picture, that's just a blip on the map. But that's not a significant enough structure for us to go ahead and consider a possible reversal off of. Remember, guys, the most important thing is being able to see this on a 1 to 2 hour time frame and zoomed out as much as you can be. And keep in mind, the more zoomed out you are, the larger perspective that you're in, and the more clear and concise setups that you can see, the more weight these levels hold. What I mean by that is, you can see I'm on a 2 hour, I'm completely zoomed out. This is a clear as day ABC. We had an ABC within the a very large separation in trend for a pullback for a B, and a quick pump to the upside for a C. Now, what we do from here is go ahead and mark that level as a potential bearish pivot. And all we do is just wait. We have to wait to see how price can go ahead and get back down here. Now, when we take the trades themselves, all right, what I will do is I'll mark down the pivot. You guys have to understand, these levels are levels of probabilities, right? Not guarantees, not absolutes. You guys have to keep in mind that for me and how I trade, it's all about probabilities. Understanding what is the best probable position you can get yourself into, or what is the best highest probability trade you can get yourself into, and allow the market to take course, allow the market to go ahead and fill your order in, and most importantly, continue in that direction that you're trading. In order for us to do that, like I said, for us, we need to go ahead and look at the largest perspective, zoom out as much as we can, and focus on the bearish and bullish setups that we can see on the most relevant time frame. The most important thing I'm trying to preach at the moment is perspective, right? I don't want you guys to take the concept of ABCs, go to a 30-minute, zoom in, like I said before, focus on every single little setup. Because I promise you it's going to do more harm than good. You're going to get yourself into a situation to where, I call it analysis paralysis. I'm sure you heard that before, or option paralysis, to where you'll sit here and come up with so many different variations of what could be going on because you're constantly focusing on the smaller ABCs that you're just going to get lost. For me, like I said, 2 hour, zoom down as far as I can. You can see we have a very, very, very large separated ABC here. That level at 25,350 is most important to me. I need price to get back below that pivot in order for me to be more bearish, or at least have higher probabilities of price putting in a much larger reversal. If we are above this region, technically we can say that the probabilities to the upside are greater at the moment. But for me, I deal in absolutes. So as soon as price crosses below, I'm going to switch my bias to more of a bearish bias, and hopefully we can see what price, how price is going to respect that level. Let's actually, I did not pull up chat here. Make sure I didn't miss any questions before I keep going. Okay, cool. So that being said, at the moment, I really don't have any bullish ideas for BTC besides the fact that, like I said, we're above this previous bearish pivot, which means we could keep pumping. Even if we come back down and retest, that is an absolute possibility. And shooting back up to the upside, that is a more of a confirmation that we could be in a more aggressive uptrend. But at the moment, there's no serious trades. There's no good setups for me to take for the long side when it comes to BTC. And when this happens, we'll go ahead and look at other opportunities on other coins. Like we'll probably do here shortly or towards the end of when I get my main TA out of the way. But most importantly, like I said, make sure you're keeping a good perspective. You're taking the highest probability trades, like I said, for us. Taking shorts below larger pivots or longing above important pivots, and we can go ahead and just wait for price to go ahead and take its course. Let's go on to ETH. So I pretty much primarily trade BTC, Ethereum, LTC. If I have room for a altcoin, I will take a trade on an altcoin. But most of the time, I try not to spread myself too thin. What I mean by that is take too many positions on one side, because I do structure my trades a bit differently. I tend to use more margin, a little bit more risk, but give myself a little bit more of a larger stop loss to go ahead and allow price to breathe and allow itself to make a larger potential decision. I can go over that later after we get the main TA out of the way. But pretty much, unless you guys have a question about trade structures or how I set up my trades, feel free to ask. If you guys are here in the Discord and you're in voice, and if you want to speak up, ask a question, don't be afraid to interrupt me. I will just keep going. So just unmute your mic. Just if you have a quick question, don't mind me. Just go ahead and ask it. I'll stop what I'm doing and we can go ahead and tackle the question if needed. But for ETH at the moment, a similar situation to BTC. We're take a swig of water. Hold on. All right. So similar situation as the BTC. We do have a possibility that we have an ABC on a larger perspective here that we could be done. All right. And then now, if that's the case, what I am going to do regardless is mark this pivot out, all right, as a major level of support here. From there, we can consider this an A to a B to a C. All right. The A wave has its own structures. I'm not the biggest fan of how this set up, but just because I'm not a fan of something, just because something's not clear cut or a textbook example doesn't mean that it's not valid. ABC within the A, ABC within the B, and if we are going to continue the upside, we're probably working on some sort of A to a B to a C scenario, something like that. All right. The other possibility, like we talked about with BTC, is that maybe this is the beginning of something. Maybe this ABC is part of a larger downtrend. That's an initial first wave to the downside. Now we either put in a B wave here, or we're working on putting another high to put in a B wave, right? I'm going to go ahead and say that we're more than likely going to possibly test that previous high and put in a larger B wave here, but I could be wrong. This would be a much larger ABC, like I mentioned before. Most important pivot of that ABC is going to be around that 2032. Not pink. Come on. There you go. All right. So this is a very well possibility. What I like to do when it comes to these larger setups or these larger pivots is I will just mark them out as a important level to go ahead and test. You'll see what I mean when I go ahead and finish this. I like to go ahead and mark out as many possible scenarios as possible. Well, I said that twice. Try to mark out as many possibilities as I can. Draw the pivots that matter in accordance to those relevant ideas that I have, and go ahead and possibly look at see how price is going to go ahead and approach those regions. Another possibility is that maybe this is an A, but like the similar last idea, maybe we're not done with a B wave and we're going to come up, put in a higher C wave. Just it might take a little bit longer to do. If that is the case, we're working on an A to a B to a C. And what we'll have to do for ETH is put in a lower low past that 1075. All right. Where is 1075? Okay. Let's see. It says 1071, but 1075, that's the previous low. And then from there, that's also another possibility, but it still ends up with us crossing above that 2032. So just keep that in mind. Trying to think if there's any other ones that off the top of my head. That's pretty much it. Like I said before, maybe we're working on an A to a B to a C. All right, and then from there we do. Let me actually go ahead and zoom into a smaller time frame. But as you can see, before I do that, I just want to highlight this real quick. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Come on, there you go. So if I delete all my lines, you can see that I do have potential. I do have more very important pivots that I mark out to go ahead and test, regardless of what scenario I might come up with, regardless of what actual analysis or ideas I might come up with. Let me go ahead and touch on one more thing. Regardless of if we put in a higher high or not, we have another opportunity of price doing something like this. A to a B to a C. Me personally, if this is going to happen, I think we should come up, put in that higher high past 2032, and then and then ultimately put in that lower low. Just because I think something doesn't mean it doesn't have to happen. We can absolutely go ahead, call this a B wave, and definitely make a case for making our way back down to those lower lows. That's the more extreme bearish scenario. But that's something that's very important to keep an eye out, regardless of how this is developing. All right. Let's go ahead and go over the smaller perspective here. Let's see, Rico. Oh, this is for you, Vlad. I don't know if you're watching the YouTube chat. But he said, "Hey, Vlad, wrote to you on Instagram. I think is it possible for you to reply? Just letting you know." Illusion ETH has been no problem. ETH has been a pain in the butt, but I got in again. Hopefully, it goes down in time. Yeah, Illusion. Unfortunately, ETH has been one of those scenarios, one of those situations that definitely has been more of a headache. I'll go ahead and talk about that more as something that can happen. It's something that we go ahead and not necessarily anticipate and look for, but something that we have to acknowledge that does happen when we go ahead and using this strategy. But it's a very good example, and I promise I'll go back into it and talk about it more. But for the smaller perspective, now I'm on a 3-hour here. I'm completely zoomed out. You can see clear as day. This is an A to a B to a C. All right. And so as long as we're below that pivot around 1741, I'm going to be bearish. I am currently shorting this. I will be shorting this as long as price is below here. If ETH decides to pump and test 2032, I'm going to definitely going to short that level as a last resort. But if price doesn't maintain below that pivot once you get back above, something like this, and I'm just saying as an example, if price does something like that to where we kind of get chopped up in this region, I'm still going to try it. But ultimately, that pivot is going to be very important for price to hold. So for me, it's something I can't miss. I definitely will be taking that trade in the future if we do get up to that region, if we don't reverse from here. But as of now, and the probabilities are to the downside, as long as we maintain below that pivot around 1744, you can see we had a very, very tough time in this region before putting it a slightly lower low. We'll have to see how this goes ahead and definitely maintains, if it can maintain. But to me, that's a very crucial pivot. Price needs to hold below that in order for me to continue to be bearish. If we pump up to the next region, we can tackle the next setup. Besides that, I'm currently also in a ETH long off of this ABC here. Actually, it was this pivot that sorry about that. Come on. I'm not trying to. There you go. Now, I know it's a smaller one, but for me, it's a ABC within the B. It's something I was definitely considering taking at the time. I did take it as a just in case scenario to where we did continue to pump up past 2032. But to me, this is not the higher confidence setup. The higher confidence setup is at 1744 short. So definitely keep my eye on that. But I'm just letting you guys know that I am currently long off of that pivot. And the reason why is because we had an ABC within a potential B wave. All right. That's pretty much it for ETH. Let's go ahead and talk about Litecoin. Oh, Litecoin's interesting. So for LTC, larger perspective again. We have a possibility of this becoming an A to a B to a C. All right. Well, it is an A to a B to a C. Sorry, not a possibility. The possibility is, like I said before, either we're dealing with an idea that maybe this is bottomed or this is the beginning of something. If this is the beginning of something, this is turning to a larger A. We're possibly working on a larger B. All right. And then we're eventually going to come back down, put in a lower low past the previous pivot to form a C wave. Right. In order for us to do that, we have to get back below the previous low, which is at 40.20, which I'm going to go ahead and draw out. And for us to be bullish, we need to go ahead and reclaim that level and hopefully look for a bigger reversal. Other possibility is that maybe we're potentially putting in some sort of larger A to a B to a C. Maybe we have to come in, put in one more high, and then possibly look for a larger potential reversal or at least a larger pullback. So I will go ahead and mark that out. All right. Let's see. I want to be able to get the entire trend in. There we go. So within this region here, we have an A to a B to a C to an A that creates an A. Right. So AB. I'll go ahead and draw the subwaves here. We have a very sharp decline for a B and a very nice ABC within the C. The subwaves between each of these look like this. Fortunately, the B wave did not put in a very, I would say, textbook correction, but that is considered a B wave. And then we have an A, B, C to a C. All right. A, B, C, A, B, A, B, C, C. And this, to me, becomes one part of one larger ABC structure. Actually, this might be easier. This entire trend that we just drew is part of a larger A to a B to a possible C. Another potential is that maybe we don't go ahead and put in a higher high. Maybe we're just primarily focusing on this ABC here within the C. Now, I have been shorting this pivot here. Fortunately, it's been a little bit of a headache, but that comes with the territory sometimes. So as long as price is below 85.68 without putting in that higher high, I am going to be shorting this. So hopefully we can go ahead and maintain that and we can see a much larger reversal. Now, another bullish alternative is that maybe we put in an ABC here, put in one more lower low. This would be part of a much, much larger idea for an ABC here. All right. I'll go ahead and mark that pivot out because that's also important. I probably will try this if we do get back below this level. But 65.36 is the pivot. Let's see. Cool, thanks. No problem, Illusion. AH44. Hello, Johnny and ABC crew. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for representing me today. Appreciate you stopping by. But yeah, that's pretty much it for LTC. I want to go over XRP because that's also in another trade I am in. Where is it? All right, so for XRP, I'm just going to go over because this area price action is a little bit messy, but it's still part of a larger trend, which I will have to acknowledge. Well, I will acknowledge and show you guys. A to a B to a C. All right, if that is I'll mark this down as a potential area to test if we are going to be bearish. Ultimately, that ABC could be part of a larger A. We're working on a larger B and possibly a larger C. If we bottom, we can just go ahead and presume that we're just going to keep pumping. If that is the case, going down to our trading time frame, we have we definitely have a much larger A to A, B, C, B. And we're working on some sort of C that will bring us back above the previous high. That's the bullish case. Bearish case is that maybe this pullback is just part of a larger B wave, and we're working on one larger ABC to the downside to put in a lower low past the previous pivot, which I mentioned in the macro TA. Let's see. Is missing anything else? Okay, so if that is the case, not like I said, guys, throughout this entire session, I don't give financial or trading advice. This is something I do. This is how I approach my trading. I'm just letting you guys know the positions I'm in, what I'm thinking, what I'm willing to take and not willing to take. You do have a possibility of this being a larger short reversal if you do want to take that. I personally haven't touched it, but the position I'm currently in, if I go to a 2-hour, is that I'm in a long position off of this ABC. Entry being just about 36.08. So we'll see if we can continue to maintain and push the upside. If not, I'm trying to take shorts on different coins, trying to see what the possibilities of what price can do, and go ahead and take advantage of that. So does anybody else have any other coins you want me to take a look at? XRP is kind of like my altcoin at the moment. If anyone has any other ones, let me know. And if you guys are here in the Discord, let me know in chat, or if you want to speak up, let me know.
Johnny,
What's up?
I did have a question. It wasn't another coin, but I did have a question.
Absolutely. What do you got?
So overall, you look at a larger time period to get kind of the overall picture. What would be like the shortest time frame you would trade? I mean, when you see the broad overall ABC, would you drill down what would be the shortest time frame you'd trade?
So, the smallest, I guess, time frame / perspective I'm willing to go down to is a 30-minute, but it's still the same principle. On a 30-minute, I'm zoomed out as far as I can. Unfortunately, you can't see me doing this, but I'm scrolling out with my scroll wheel and I cannot zoom out any further. The most important thing is maintaining a key perspective, maintaining a large enough perspective to be able to see what's important. Um, I'm not the biggest fan of scalping using the ABCs just because price will tend to dance a lot in certain areas. And it's very, very hard to focus on the important levels that matter. If I go to a 5-minute zoom in, you can see there's ABCs here all day. There's an ABC here. There's an ABC within the B. You could have shorted that. The part of a larger ABC here. You could have long that bottom. You can see my chart gets very ugly pretty fast. But like I said before, when I zoom out and you can see everything I just drew is just a drip on like a little drop on the map. It's not something that is significant in my opinion because these levels are the most important to me and the most important for showing that how price is going to behave. Not how it could behave, not going how it's absolutely going to behave, but how it could behave. So I've had people try it before. I personally have tried it. It can work, but you really, really, really have to be on top of the macro analysis. If your macro analysis isn't on point or isn't 100% correct, you're gonna have a very, very hard time using this on a smaller time frame. I'm not saying it can't be done, but the odds of most people doing it correctly and doing it right are going to be very hard to the point to where it just doesn't make sense to do so.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That makes
No
sense.
problem.
And
Yeah, I appreciate you asking the question. So if anyone else has any questions, please let me know. I know Bidarius asked for Soul, so I can definitely do that for him. Let's see, where's Soul? All right. Been a while since I talked about this. But for Soul, kind of was talking about the same idea. For LTC a little bit. We could have a scenario to where this ABC becomes part of a larger A. Now either we put in a B here, we're working on a B. If we are going to put in a larger B, we need to go ahead and mark this out as a potential pivot. And then target the previous high as a bearish reversal point. The only thing that's conflicting for that for me is that that previous high is close to a bullish, much more macro bullish pivot. So if price were to, let's say if price doesn't reject off of that previous A, I would be more inclined to say that Soul is going to be due for more of a larger push. Even though the macro pivot is important, for me, I will definitely consider that high as a potential reversal as well. So I'm just keeping that in mind as for future reference, just in case. But like I said, either we're putting in a B wave, we're putting in a B wave here, or we're going to be putting in one more low for a B wave. The ultimate macro bearish idea that I have is perhaps this was a larger A to a B to a C situation. And that means, Soul, I know Soul dropped off a cliff already. But if this is going to be bad, if the bad news bears are going to come rolling into town, I definitely think we're going to be seeing lower than that. But that's more of a that's more of a very, very, very bearish scenario. What's more likely is kind of what I mentioned before off of this pivot here, that we come down, put in some sort of lower low. All right, and then we can go ahead and look for a larger potential A, B, C scenario, something like that. That's pretty much it, Bidarius. I don't see anything else besides those two major pivots, 1598, which is that green line, and then that previous high at around 27.29. Let's see. Oh, illusion. For BNB, if it dropped to 300-ish, would you take the long trade? By the way, I'm currently in. Oh, you know what? I forgot about BNB. You're right. Shoot, I am in a BNB trade as well. I completely forgot about that. Oh, I just want USD. Let's see. What'd you say? If it dropped to 300-ish, would you take the long trade? Illusion, the only long trade. Actually, no. Yeah, so let me go over BNB real quick. So there's two potential scenarios. One that we're looking at this as an A to a B to a C. And we're going to come up put in a higher high. Bearish case scenario is that we do not get that higher high, at least at first. We're looking at something like this. A to a B to a C. And then this either becomes a larger AB, or if we break the low, if I go to like a 2-day, actually a 1-day might be better. Let's do 12-hour. There you go. If I go to a 12-hour, we get absolutely put in a lower low past the previous low here. That's more of like a worst case scenario, but also very good opportunity for BNB kind of situation. The most important levels to keep an eye on is this pivot here. So illusion, let me know if I have this right. So you said 300-ish. I really don't see anything because you have to keep this in mind. This ABC, all right, once an ABC is completed, I pretty much look at everything from here on out, unless it's okay. I wouldn't say unless, especially if it's on a larger scale. To me, this ABC is definitely on a larger scale. Now, regardless, if you think that this is going to be a larger A to a B to a C scenario, right? Or, like I mentioned before, that we could possibly be due for a much larger correction to possible push towards the new low. I don't really see any long opportunities in this region. The only reason why I say that is because this ABC completes one whole trend. So all the positions that were valid here in this region aren't valid anymore because it's already completed its own ABC. So now I have to focus to everything on what's on the right of this line. So unless you're talking about like that 317, I really don't consider that a big setup for me in the grand scheme of things. But if you could just clarify that for me in chat, illusion, before I continue on. Good time for a water break. Does anybody have any questions regarding? Because after this, we're gonna be going over a little bit more of traditional markets. So we're gonna go over the SPY, the DXY, some other stocks in that category. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions for me? Whether if you want to unmute your mic or if you want to pop it in chat as well as in YouTube chat as well. If you guys are here watching on the YouTube and Twitch end, please feel free to ask me any questions you might have before I go ahead and move on so I don't miss anything. Need some more water. But yeah, I'm currently short from this pivot. Sorry, be red. So 337.90 is my entry, and I'm just gonna hold this. Okay, I think I'm all good. All right, so let's move over to traditional markets. So I usually do SPY, DXY, gold, silver, and maybe one or two other stocks. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna start off on a clean slate here. So for the S&P, we have an A to a B to a C. That's considered an A to a B to a C. I'm going to mark this pivot out as a important bullish pivot to hold. Come on. Whoops. Make this green. There you All right. That's a very important bullish pivot to hold. Ultimate, I guess, bearish case scenario is that we put in one more lower low. And then this becomes a larger A to a B to a C. I'll go ahead and show you guys there. All right. And so we have an ABC within the A. We also have an ABC within the B. So if we continue to hold below this pivot, ultimately I think price can absolutely go ahead and test that lower low, potentially lower. There's some areas of support based off of the previous uptrend that we can go ahead and look for, but I'm not too concerned with that at the moment. I think for a bearish case scenario, we need to get back below that pivot, and then we can consider areas of support or potential reversals. Besides that, for the S&P, I really don't see anything that sticks out too much. Yeah, to be honest. Long as price is below these larger pivots, that's key level of resistance, or in this case, the larger one I mentioned here is level of support. But we'll have to see how price fights in that region. Definitely very important. Definitely a key thing to watch. But if price continues to break above this pivot, we just keep going. Ultimately, I think we can go ahead and reach new all-time highs. But, that leaves us with a very scary scenario to where maybe the entire COVID starting from the bounce of the COVID dump to the top can form a very, very large ABC. That would be very scary if we do not continue to pump. I'll just say that. But, we're not there yet. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But definitely on the table. All right. I know people are interested in the DXY, so let's go over DXY. So for the DXY, one of the main ideas I have at the moment is two things. One, we're putting in an ABC reversal setup here, which would mean that the dollar would have to keep dumping. So obviously, due to the inverse correlation between assets and the dollar, that would mean potential more bullishness for BTC and other assets. That's definitely on the table. Another scenario is that maybe we get some sort of ABC pullback in this region, and this is part of a larger A to a B to a C. If that is the case, we have a significant breakage of the original uptrend here. So I would consider this an AB. All we need is to get a higher high past this pivot. Definitely possible. If we can get a higher high past that pivot and then reverse, I would still be targeting the previous low or the lowest low here at about $100. And that would turn into a much larger ABC here. So even though we do get a higher high, it's still part of a larger idea that I could be having. That's something I like to definitely go over sometimes, is regardless of what scenarios I go over, you can see that there's key pivots that truly matter. In this case, that $100 81.5 region is a very important level for me. DXY. So if we go ahead and get back below, whether we do that now or we put in one more high before going back lower, that's going to be a key pivot or a key reversal area for the DXY. I don't think there's anything else besides that. Yeah, besides that, that's pretty much it for the DXY. Let's go ahead and go over now. If you guys have anything traditional asset wise, stock market or anything like that, that I can pull up on a chart and they want me to look at, that's not crypto, please let me know. I still have a couple more to go. Oh, gold is in a very interesting scenario. All right, so for gold, we had a very large macro ABC. We maintained above that pivot, made a push to the upside. Now, ultimately, two main scenarios. We could reverse off of here to put in at least a larger pullback, if not a much larger potential reversal. All right, and this becomes part of a larger ABC like I just drew here. All right, that's only if we maintain below that 1958. All right, if we continue to cross to the upside, the next important region for me to go ahead and consider is at 2075, which is the previous high. And that would put in a much larger ABC. If I go to like a 2-day, yeah, that would put in a much larger ABC here. And then we can go ahead and talk about be a little bit more bearish on gold if we do come back below. Guys, we can easily put in test the all-time high, get enough bullish pressure to go ahead and just pump straight through it. And at least without saying never return, but put in a large enough extension to where we have to consider a new setup to go ahead and be bearish on. But besides that, for gold, that's pretty much the main analysis that I have. I don't see any bullish areas for me to go ahead and consider besides the previous low here. But if we cross a new high, if we make a new high, I have to take that option off the table because that's part of it. That's part of the previous trend. All right. Let's do silver. All right. So silver is an interesting spot as well. ABC here. So mostly this is what matters. All right. So we have a potential A to a B to a C scenario. All right. That's the bullish idea. Another potential scenario is that maybe this B wave is not done yet. Maybe that's an A. We get one more high for a B to a C. If that's the case, that's 1753 is an important region for me to see. Sorry. This area is an important region for silver to hold. Just something I would like to see be a potential reversal off of. We can get back below and back above. The other scenario is that, hold on. Yeah. We could put in another low here without putting in a higher high. First, that's definitely possible. But besides that, I really don't see. If we keep pumping past that 2466, we're probably going to go ahead and test the new high. And if we got to keep going from there, we can definitely put in much higher highs from that region. But besides that, that's pretty much what I have for gold and silver. I can't forget Vlad's favorite, Bavarian Motor Works.
Thank you, man.
Let's see. So ABC to the downside. This is part of a larger ABC structure. So it'd be something like this as a potential bullish option. All right. We do have the potential of reversing here, though, as you can see. Oh, let's see. That's definitely possible. So as long as we're below $100.80, BMW is looking pretty bearish, in my opinion. But if we can break through that, the next previous high, or yeah, the next high we need to go ahead and test is that 123.44. But besides that, I don't see a bullish option for. I don't see a smaller time frame bullish option for BMW at the moment. But that's pretty much it for that. Does anybody else have anything they want me to go over stock market wise? If not, I do want to go over something for those who've been sticking around towards the end. I want to drop a little extra nugget for you guys. So if you guys have any questions or anything you don't want, excuse me. If you guys don't want me to look at anything else, or if you don't have any other questions regarding the ABCs themselves, I'm going to touch on one or two key points I want you guys to understand, not just about the ABC method, but this trading itself. Where did that come from? Okay. All right. All right. So if anyone has any questions, I want to go over something that's important, something that's relative to what's going on right now at the moment, as well as I know there's a couple new faces in here. So I want to kind of go over some of you guys might be thinking, you know, why does this work? Or, I can go over previous examples for those who are new. We had an ABC bottom here. This is probably one of the most impressive trades that I have taken in a very long time. We pretty much long the bottom. I don't know too many other people in trading in general who have managed to do this with less crap on their screen. I'm not gonna say crap, but less stuff on their screen. I pretty much just use the actual trends themselves, draw out the pivots, and go ahead and take the trades as they come up. I've long that bottom. I've shorted the top before the FTX dump off of that ABC. And so the reason why we're able to get these entries and the reason why this works so well is I want to go over the kind of quote unquote, not the mindset, but the kind of the framing to why ABCs work so well. One of the things that I have noticed, right, and one of the things that is a key takeaway, not from just the ABC strategy, from trading in general, is that one, this game is a give and take. Right? You guys got to understand this. In order for us to win, we have to take from other people. When we lose, we give to someone else. All right. This is how it is. We're not, it's not a typical, how do I say this? It's not like, how do I say this? It's not like a job where you're working for something, working for a paycheck. It's not like you run a business, you provide a service, or you do something in exchange for money. You're literally taking and giving to other people. So it's you versus them. And I need you guys to put yourselves in a situation to not just regarding ABCs, but I need you guys to put yourselves in the mindset of how can you get ahead of most retail traders, right? Because that's pretty much what it is. It's retail traders fighting against themselves, as well as big whales who come in, take money from everyone, regardless, and go ahead and have the last say in what the market wants to do. In order for us to go ahead and put ourselves in that frame of mind or do that particular thing, is we need to understand how regular traders think or how regular traders play or take their trades. One of the most, I would say, one of the biggest beginner strategies that traders go ahead and use, and this is something I have done when I first started trading, was something called trading support and resistance and trading breakouts. Right. So let me give you guys an example. Let's say price comes up. All right, and then form some sort of range. All right, this is I'm just trying to just kind of give you a spitball idea. All right, let's say price forms some sort of range. What a range trader and a breakout trader will do is two things. One, once a range is established, what they'll do is if they're trying to trade momentum and trade breakouts, they will go ahead and either long above the previous resistance or short below the previous support. All right, so then they think, and basically what they're trying to do is take advantage of the quote unquote momentum that is being used to push price to either the next level of support or the next level of resistance, right? This is very common in bull markets. People are just constantly taking breakout trades to the upside. There is a time and place to do so. But I would say majority of the time it's not necessarily the best way to approach things, right? So what ends up happening, I'll use an example for both. Let's say price does come back down here. All right. So people are entered into this breakout short. What ends up happening is big money and people who actually can move the markets understand that, hey, there's a lot of shorts opening in this region. And what they'll do is they'll start buying and basically force the price upward, right? And what'll happen is you'll get an area of trap positions, or AKA liquidity. And what'll end up happening is traders who shorted below that pivot will either be stopped out or liquidated. What ends up happening when that does happen is that you get a accelerated movement in the opposite direction, because what happens is if you're in shorts and you're forced to get out of your shorts, what do you have to do? you have to buy back into those positions. So basically, you're buying back BTC, or you're buying back to get out of your positions, forcing price to go even further to the upside. Right? Vice versa for the for the opposite scenario. So let's say, for example, let's say price put in another, higher low, and let's say, oh, look, it looks like we're trending to the upside. We're going to break. All right. You break out above that previous resistance. Price goes ahead and starts an initial move to the upside, but eventually it does reverse. Right. And then what ends up happening is the same situation. You get a scenario where you get traders caught in taking longs above resistance, and basically market movers, or people who actually have money, go ahead and short while people are buying, or sell while people are buying. What ends up happening is this creates liquidity or trapped positions up in this regions. And what happens is, once price is pushed down far enough, it'll force people to sell out of their positions, which will basically be selling Bitcoin. And this will kind of accelerate or create a snowball effect to the opposite direction that these traders initially took their trades off of, right? That's the main reason why the ABC strategy works so well. Now, there's other strategies using liquidity and all that stuff. To me, some of those strategies are a little bit more complicated, more technical than how we do things, but you can get the same results, the same answer based off of how we trade ABCs. I can give you guys examples all day. If you guys want me to show you more examples, I can. But that's kind of the main premise of why ABCs work so well. It's because we're going against the retail trader. We're creating areas of liquidity and trap positions, creating snowball effects when people get stopped out of those late entries, and accelerating moves to the opposite direction. So that's why this is mostly a reversal strategy, but it can be a continuation strategy. Another thing I want to go over, if you guys have any questions about that, how I do things, or about that methodology in general, please let me know. But that's the premise of why ABCs work so well. Now, this is kind of, we're going to turn the tides a little bit. People who are in my group, people who watch me a lot, people who might be here right now from the channel, I want to talk about something about primarily the ETH position that we've been in. Let's see. So this ETH position has been an absolute pain in the butt, right? Excuse me. It's been an absolute pain in the butt. And I get that, guys. And, unfortunately, this does happen. But I need you guys to understand the larger picture. When it comes to these positions, when it comes to taking these trades, all right, you have to understand that how we structure our trades, I'm currently using 3% risk, 3% stop loss. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to find the best balance between maximizing R&R, which is very important in trading, and also not using too aggressive a stop loss to where I get stopped out at unnecessarily amount of times. Now, just because I extend my stop losses doesn't mean that that you can go ahead and think you're out of the woodworks, out of the danger zone, not have to worry about being stopped out multiple times. This is a clear-cut example that even though we do have a larger stop loss in play, and even though it is going to take a lot for price to move, so the concept behind how I structure my stop losses at the moment is, when we're at lower prices, we're exposed to more possible volatility, right? When we're exposed to that much larger swings in volatility, we have a higher likelihood of getting stopped out using a more aggressive stop loss. The way you protect yourself from that, or at least give yourself a little bit more breathing room, is by using a larger stop loss. But just keep in mind, just because you use a stop loss doesn't mean you're safe, right? This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. In order for price to get you in and out of these positions, price is going to have to move 3% to get you in, 3% to get you out. Repeat the process multiple times. It can happen. This is a prime example of this happening, but doesn't necessarily mean it happens all the time. There's areas where we've had separations in setups much larger, but we never actually got stopped out just as many times as this. So it's something I need you guys to understand is that when you guys are doing this, there are chances that you guys are going to get stopped out a good amount of times. But the way we kind of find the best balance is by understanding the larger picture, understanding R&R, and focusing on the bigger ideas. So the reason why I wanted to say that, because I know there's some people in here who are in my group, some people in the Discord, some people watching aren't in my group. I've been getting DMs from a good amount of people over the last couple of days talking about ETH. So just wanted to touch on that, understand, even though the ABC strategy is good, there are some times where it can get a little messy. But overall, we're still doing fantastic. Love this method. This is the bread and butter of what I've been doing. But it's not all sunshines and rainbows here. Sometimes you got to dig yourself and go through the trenches. But we'll get through it. Well, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions regarding anything I had to say today, whether it's TA, anything you want me to look over, anything regarding what I just talked about, if you're just stopping by, let me know, because I know that there's been a couple people tuning in and out of the YouTube / Twitch end. So if you guys have any questions for me, please, now's the time to ask. If not, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here.
Johnny,
What's up?
Do you explain the ABC strategy? Do you have like videos really going in depth and explaining how it works?
Yeah, so I go so if you go ahead, if you look in, actually no, you're on Discord, I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and pop in my YouTube channel here. All right, so I have my own YouTube channel where I stream 3 times a week. I've been doing this, for almost pretty much a year straight consistently. I've been on YouTube for longer, but I've been streaming consistently for a year straight. If you guys want to tune in, I go over this in exact detail. You guys can ask me any questions. If you go to the home page specifically, this is kind of more, if it's not, doesn't go into it in too much detail. There's a lot of intricacies when it comes to ABCs, but I kind of go over what I go over here. I go over some examples. It's a little bit more, I'd say technical than what I usually talk about. It's more of a straightforward thing, but if you tune into the live streams, I go over everything. I talk about it. People ask questions about ABCs in general, so I always answer those questions. So if you want, tune into the channel, as well as if I'm here in David's Discord as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to tag me, or I have my own actual specific channel in the group. I'll go ahead and post a link to that. So my setups are, if you go ahead and check the chat in this room, I posted a link to my setups, and as well as I'll post a link to where we have a thread where you guys can ask me questions and stuff. Copy a link. But I also have my own Discord to where I have pretty much everything you'll need A to Z on what how to trade ABCs. It's a paid group. You're paying to get in to the community, which my guys have been signed. Obidarius is in my group. I don't see anyone. Is San Holo my group? He might be. I'm not too sure. I don't remember. I'm starting to.
Okay.
Sometimes I lose track. But some people are in my group here. You don't have to sign up for it. It's just an extra exchange of value. Everything's straightforward for you. I can. I also have a crash course that I released. So it's a very intricate 2.5-hour video where I go over everything in detail. If you click on any of the videos I have here, it's the 4th link in the description. All right. You can go ahead and sign up. It's via Patreon. I kind of wanted to do something to where, you can get access to this. Like I said, it's a 2.5-hour video. Very important. everything from A to Z. I go everything in very, very specific details, kind of going from even how to draw trends, to identify separation in trends. If you don't want to go ahead and sign up for the Discord, definitely could do so. It's kind of a way to bridge the gap if you want to kind of dive a little bit deeper without going too far in, if that makes sense. 'Cause I
Yeah.
know some people want to kind of test it out. But if not, if you don't have to do that at all. You definitely go ahead and just tune into the live streams. I'll be on tomorrow around I usually start 1 p.m. EST. So if you want to come by, if you want to ask me questions, I kind of go over the same thing we just talked about here today. But I can go over any
Okay.
specific questions, scenarios. And like I said, please feel free to ask me in the Discord as well if you want to dive deeper into it.
Okay, yeah, because I like what I've seen today, and I would like to dive a little deeper and you know, learn a little more about it, even a little more
Abs-
technical. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
love
been really interesting.
Yeah, the goal here has always been to kind of show you guys how to achieve the same thing through straightforwardness and simplicity, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I try to keep things as clear cut, as straightforward as possible. Yes, it could get a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but I do my best to try to kind of walk you through the steps of how I do things. But yeah,
Yeah, just keep it simple. Simple works.
exactly. We call it the KISS method. The KISS method is
Exactly.
keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly. So, all right.
All right, guys. If anyone else has any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the stream off here. But thank you guys so much, Illusion. Thank you so much for stopping by, H44, and those who are here hanging out with me right now, who stuck to the end. I really do appreciate you. Like I said, if you guys are interested, if you guys are watching via the YouTube side, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, I would love to have you guys there. If you guys have any other questions regarding what I have to say, definitely tune into the live streams. Like I said, I stream 3 times a week, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 1 p.m. EST. I believe UK is off of daylight savings time, so it should be the back to the normal gap. So 6 p.m. UK. You guys are over on the other side of the pond. So appreciate you guys. Really do. I'll be here next Monday. But if not, if you guys want to tune in, we'd love to have you. Until next time, folks, I do really appreciate it. Thank you again for hosting me here, David, Vlad. Thank you for hosting this meeting today. I really do appreciate it. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
See you, everyone. Bye bye.